Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the You, Me, and BTC podcast. We got lots to talk about today, and we're going to talk about it. I am Daniel Brown, and I'm here with
Timothy
John
Baker.
Stuart.
Oh man, competition.
Oh man.
You can just edit that so that we say it at different times later.
Or I'll just put them
boy.
right on top of each other, and it'll sound like John Baker and Timothy Stewart.
No,
All
I
right,
think
so-
our voices are distinct enough that people can tell the difference.
Maybe.
Do they morph into the same person? It's
We
the best show ever.
have to talk about Steam accepting Bitcoin, and we're going to talk about Chris Ellis, who is a pretty awesome guy in the Bitcoin community, and he's also pretty sick, and they're raising some money to help him out. And I think we're going to have time to get to some conversation about Blockstream. So that is all coming up, but I did want to open the show with a couple comments. First of all, I thought about, an hour or two ago, I was thinking that I could say that this is a miracle episode, because before we recorded, I texted Tim and John, and I said, when would be a good time to record, just like I do every week. And within about 2 minutes, both of them responded and said anytime after 9:30 is fine. So that was going to be a miracle. I'm like, holy crap, we actually worked out a schedule without any trouble, because that never happens. We always argue for however long, whatever. But the miracle has been diminishing over the past hour or two because it took us that long to figure out what we wanted to talk about. So yeah, as exciting as it was, it's kind of falling apart now.
Now,
But-
thank you for Daniel for sucking all the kind of magic, the only thing we still have after we edit this stuff. But whatever. That's kind of the...
No, we don't edit anything, Tim. Our show is straight up hardcore and raw. I
I
mean,
think any of the magic is in the editing.
oh yeah, that is absolutely true. I can't deny that. As much as I would like to, if we didn't edit, we would be a disaster.
The show is auto-tuned and quantized.
What does quantized mean?
They make it so that everything's like on the beat, like on a grid.
All right.
Anyway, there's also one other thing that I wanted to mention real quick before we get into, the meat and potatoes of today's miracle episode. And that is about last week's episode. It was kind of interesting. I took a risk, which we like to do here on the show. We take risks every day. We risk our lives for this show, really. But
No, we actually risk our lives for the listeners, actually.
yeah,
If you think about it.
Yeah, we do it for the show, and the show is for the listeners. No question about it. We put our lives on the line for you. So if you see us, in the mall or whatever, come up to us and shake our hands and say thank you for your service, because that's what you do in those situations.
And we also constantly wear our BTC, You, Me, and BTC shirts. We conference always wear this, or at least when we go out and go to dinner and go shopping and
Exactly. We
stuff
get
like
discounts when people see us in it and everything. So
Can I get the You, Me, BTC discount?
yes.
You don't have that here?
And they'll be like, you have to be in uniform, sir.
I will have my local union. No, I mean my unit. I'm sorry.
Anyway, talking about last week, I forget how we even got into that whole uniform thing. But last week, we took a risk, and our title was my title. This was my risk. John and Tim don't take risks. I title the episode.
No, we take the risks with you. We're kind of affected by them, but you take them for us.
Yeah, that's the thing. You do it without even telling us.
That is true. That is very true. The title was Bitcoin Isn't for the Masses. And I don't even want to describe all I was saying. I just want to clarify that it was intended to be a strong title, and you should listen to the show to find out what we really think. I'm not even going to get into everything.
But you're already doing. You're pushing down. You're like, see, this is a clickbait article. If no one didn't notice, now watch it, you sons of bitches.
No, I get that. That's what I'm doing now. You're right. But if I wanted to get into it, I could have explained what we said last week, and I could have explained why the title doesn't quite fit with what we were even talking about. But yeah, I just want everyone to know It was a strong title. I like clickbait. That's how I make all my money ever now. So yeah. So I tried it out, and you know, we had some fun. So anyway, the title of this episode is going to be like...
I haven't had any fun with it, so at least Daniel did.
The title of this episode should be something like, "You won't believe what Daniel said about last week's episode."
Just have every one after that just referencing it.
I literally hate those. Like there's some clickbait like I can deal with, but the ones where it's like, "You won't believe," or "This you won't believe what happened next."
Anyway, so yeah, there it is. I think I got all the intro stuff out of the way, little things I wanted to hit. So I'm going to turn it over to John Stuart, not Johnny Stewart, or no, you know, not the John Stewart you think of, but anyway.
Johnny Stewart.
All right, John, tell us about Steam.
Like, how can I fuck up?
Yeah, so this is now time for your favorite segment on any show ever. It's called "Another Company Started Accepting Bitcoin."
Yes, yes.
This is news. It's like, well, it's what some people consider to be news. I don't know.
I mean,
it
is news in the you know, in terms
it's not
of the fact
old.
that it's new. Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
But anyways, yes, Steam is integrating Bitcoin payments with BitPay. I don't know why. Like, I said it twice. I don't know why I said it twice, and then I figured I'd just keep going with it. Anyways, like, I kind of hate the this company's doing Bitcoin, and we used to do that a lot when it actually seemed like it was a bigger deal, like 2 years ago, when nobody accepted Bitcoin.
Yeah,
and
it was
then,
a way bigger deal before.
Well, even then, I don't think it was actually that big of a deal. It just was perception at the time.
Yeah.
But like now, it's just like,
yeah.
people are like, whatever.
I mean, I think it's always worth mentioning. We just have to try not to go off on it for like half an hour and then be like, wait, that's all that happened.
Yeah.
This company took Bitcoin.
I thought this one was just funny though because it was Steam, and like my friend sent me this, and I was like, wait a second, Steam didn't do this yet? Like,
yeah.
Like you could buy stuff on Xbox Live with Bitcoin, but Steam didn't have it. Like,
right.
When is Microsoft ahead of somebody else on something like this?
I kind of stopped being impressed with it right after Mastodon took it for their one album, because if you're behind a stoner rock band, I'm not really.
Well, I mean, that makes a lot of
sense.
much. Silk Road, Bitcoin, Mastodon, weed. There's a
Mastodon's
connection.
got too many connections. They don't need the Silk Road.
Well, no, I'm saying like, as far as people who might be interested, it makes sense.
Them and 50 Cent.
What?
So I have to.
They both took it at around the same time.
Oh wait, I didn't know 50 Cent did. I didn't know that was what you were talking about. I thought you just like said cent because I said cents. I was like, it makes sense. Like 50 Cent. Oh, like, that's what I thought you were doing. This is bad.
So I have to ask John. I don't even know if you know, but I don't completely understand the format of this Reddit post.
Oh,
it's not a news post. It doesn't like explain like, oh hey, look, they're taking Bitcoin. It's like these weird like Bitcoin _ authorization _ explanation, and then it's like, we're integrated with BitPay. Click the button to open a web browser and initiate the transaction. I'm confused, I'll be honest.
Yeah, I don't know what this is really. It actually
it's on the Steam Reddit. I don't know if we said that yet.
Well, like if you click on that screenshot, it looks almost like they're doing like commands. Like
okay,
but I don't know what. And then they have a link to BitPay's. I know. I thought the same thing when I opened this, and I was like, it's a post. It has words in it, but I don't really know what it's saying.
I don't understand the format.
There's words on the internet. No way.
I got that Steam is like doing something with BitPay. That's about all I got from it.
Yeah, and then there's another one.
Maybe this is like somebody copied a test of something. Maybe that's what this is. I don't know.
It looks like it has something to do with programming. Maybe they're making a way for programmers to connect with Bitcoin and Steam or something. So maybe it's like an API or like filters and hooks or something, because they look like function names or something like that. So, but it really doesn't matter. It's weird. I don't know exactly what they're saying, but we do know that Steam and Bitcoin will finally be together soon. It's like that great love story that we've been waiting to happen. So, I mean, not really. I don't use Steam, but
what love story?
I mean, I think it makes sense because like the whole point of Steam is to stop using physical crap.
Right. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. That you're right, John. It is crazy that they haven't done it yet, because there's like an entire economy for Steam goods. Like there are people who spend all day online buying and selling digital credits, Steam credits, and add-ons and extensions and games. That happens all the time online, and even for Bitcoin, that's happened before privately, not built into Steam, but people have sold Steam stuff for Bitcoin all the time on the forums. And yeah, it's crazy that they're just now like, hey, what if we took Bitcoin? I know it would take like 30 seconds to implement, but we could try.
At this point, it really isn't any kind of a risk to us, but I don't know. Yeah. We don't everything. It just gets converted right to cash, but I don't know.
Yeah, that's the thing with BitPay is I mean, I'm sure with something as big as Steam, it takes more than 30 seconds, but they also have a gigantic development team, so I'm sure they could have set it up in a week anytime they wanted to. And I don't know why they waited, but they did, and here it is. So actually there is one comment here that says it probably took them a while because of the non-instant nature of this, which is different from the other payment methods they have now. I guess that's a decent point. I mean, I still feel like they should have figured it out. Actually, BitPay does confirm it almost instantly. They don't necessarily wait for confirmations. It's probably a setting, I guess. But yeah, I mean that's worth mentioning, that Bitcoin isn't quite instant, and Steam probably would have preferred instant. I mean, I still think they should have figured it out a while ago, but I guess that makes sense. I mean, but even then, I mean, 10 minutes. I mean, if you're waiting for a game, it's going to take 10 minutes to download anyway, it's at least for a lot of big Steam games. So, I don't know. Decent point, but whatever.
What is this BitBot guy? Like, I guess it's a bot, but it's just change tipping all these people.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's a BitBot in the comments, and he's giving out money. Speaking of tips, hey, we take tips. Send us money.
Tim doesn't take change tips, so send me and Dan money.
Yeah. Tim, anytime we get a change tip, none of it goes to Tim.
So
John
send us like a $100 one.
Yeah. I know some people hesitate to tip us because they know Tim is a terrible person and they don't want to support him. But if that's the case, then you just use change tip.
Well, yeah, you should actually
use your stupid fucking little app.
Do that.
Tip, and then you can tip these.
Send us a
pussies.
$100 tip just to spite Tim.
Exactly.
Like solely for that purpose. Like, I don't even care if it's because you agree with us or you like us. Do it just to spite Tim.
I honestly don't even remember why I started. No, never mind. I do remember.
I remember.
I was gonna be like, why do I hate them? Yeah, I remember why I hate them.
Yeah, we don't need to get into that. If you want to know, there's an episode called The Great Change Tip Debate or something along those lines. You're welcome to investigate. Welcome and encouraged. Anyway, all right, should we jump on to Chris Ellis? Any objections?
no objections against moving on to the donations for the sick guy.
Wow, that was polite, Tim. All right, but it is your story. Maybe that's probably a mistake on my part. We'll see where Tim takes us. But yeah, it's all you, Tim. What's going on?
I'm just like, it's a weird transition to make there, just because until about the hour that it was taking us to figure it out, when we were trying to figure out what to talk about, I learned from Daniel what was actually wrong with Chris Ellis, which I never, I guess, really knew before. I'm sure Daniel tried to explain to me, but I wasn't really paying attention. But between looking at the Indiegogo
also
and
very polite of you,
finally listening to you, apparently he started with tinnitus, and then that led to, headaches. Tinnitus is like, it's a ringing in your ears, right?
Right. That's what I was going to ask. That's what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what it is, and that will cause headaches, and also he was having trouble sleeping, and so then apparently he was starting to take a lot of sleeping pills and sedatives just to be able to sleep, because it was just so bothering him so much, and now I guess those aren't having the best effect on his body. None of that stuff really does. But what were you saying, Daniel? Like recently, he's just like,
yeah, he went to some doctor and he was classified as a 90 out of 100 on some kind of handicap scale, and the definition for that rating was catastrophic impact on quality of life. So it is pretty serious, and that's why he's trying to raise this money to get therapy, and the biggest thing I think is they still, he has all these symptoms, but they don't quite know what the actual problem is, and so he wants to be able to do more research and more tests or whatever he needs to figure out what's going on.
It's probably the worst part about it, is that everything bad is happening, but they just don't know what's up with it. I would think, and that's they have a decent amount of. They're only trying to raise £500. They already have 458, but there's 2 months left on the funding. All that was, it's not a huge amount, but that was raised in 8 days. But I'm sure they could always use more. So if you got money, just donate it, I guess. It's
well, yeah, I think Indiegogo is one where you can donate over and they still get it.
Yeah, pretty sure
it depends how you set it up, but I'm guessing £500 is probably not enough to really do anything. I'm guessing they were more just setting that so that they would get something out of it.
Yeah, you're probably right.
And they're hoping that people will donate more as they want, and not just because they're trying to reach a goal.
Right. Yeah, I bet 500 was maybe the minimum that you're even allowed to do or something. So
I'm pretty sure it is, because I've looked into doing it before.
Yeah, well, another thing we should mention, which maybe we should have done this first, is just who Chris Ellis is and why we're a fan of him. Most of you probably know this because he's pretty well known in Bitcoin, and he's on the World Crypto Network, and we're also on there and everything. But and if you don't know, he does a lot of development work, and he does activism, but it's like a different kind of activism. He doesn't travel around a lot. He lives a pretty a pretty quiet lifestyle. And instead of I've heard him say things like this, instead of doing all that traveling and making a big show out of Bitcoin and everything, he more or less genuinely wants to make it better, and he wants to make people's lives better with Bitcoin. And that's what he says, and from what I've seen, I think I would completely agree with that. He's not a crazy showy guy. He just knows a lot about Bitcoin. He knows a lot about development. He even talks a lot about philosophy, and just like we do on the show here with liberty and government and stuff. He's a real rational, practical person with some great skills, and he helps people with all of that. And that's what I like about him. I don't know if you two know as much about him or know what all he's involved in, but that's my 2 cents. Do you have any other thoughts to add?
I mean, you've talked to him. Well, I haven't talked to him at all. Pretty much the main thing I know about him is the full node live stream building things that he's been doing.
Yeah, and
which
that's
is probably worth talking about.
Yeah, exactly. So one of his first big projects was Feathercoin, right? I think it was Feathercoin. It's something like that. Anyway, he did some early projects like that. But yeah, and right now his biggest project are the full nodes. I don't know if it's is or are, but yeah, he's been working on full nodes, and what they are. I have one. It's super cool. It's a Raspberry Pi that has a custom developed image, Linux operating system that includes a Bitcoin client, a Bitcoin node, and he sends them with a copy of the blockchain and a case for the Raspberry Pi, stuff like that. And the idea is that they're just super cheap, not super cheap. They're like $100 some, but they're cheaper than a 21 computer. That's true. But yeah, he has full nodes because he knows they support the network, and I haven't heard him talk about this a lot, but I know that I love the Raspberry Pi, and even if it didn't have anything to do with Bitcoin, they're great things to be using and to be getting out there. And yeah, so that's what he's been working on for several months. And yeah, he did a live stream. We mentioned this on the show. He did a live stream where he built these full nodes on air, and he's done several more live streams since then, where he's just been going through the code and continuing to develop the image for the OS and everything. And I don't know. I mean, I see him talking about going on air several days a week because that's just what he's been doing lately. So I remember the other day I was on with him, and he was saying like it had been like an hour or something that we'd been on air, an hour or two maybe, and somebody was saying like, you look pretty tired. Should we end the show soon or end the live stream soon? And he was just like, listen, if I go off the air, I'm just going to lay here in pain. So I'd kind of rather just keep going. And yeah, so I think that's just a reminder that he's struggling, and that's the whole point of this campaign, is to help him out. I would encourage you to do so. I'm going to do the same, and I hope it makes a difference because I know he's struggling. So do we want to quickly I don't want to stop on every one because we'll end up talking for 10 minutes about each perk, but do we want to briefly just mention what they are and how much they are? Does one of you want to do that?
I mean, yeah, I'll do that. 25 pounds is the featured perk. That's enough for 1 hour of physical therapy session for him, and they kind of build it off of that. There are also smaller donations. I think Indiegogo's pretty good about just letting you donate whatever, but you might just be able to go on 5. Anyway, you donate $5, you don't really get much. It's kind of like, okay, thank you. That's the only thing. They don't even give you anything for $5.
Yeah, well, that's pretty normal. I mean,
no,
for
normally they give
$5,
you like a Twitter shout out.
Right. Which
I'm just $10. Yeah, you get a shout out on the World Crypto Network. Then $50. That's where you're going to start actually helping. That's 2 1-hour physical therapy sessions. They're going to need to pay a specialist neuroradiologist. I'm not entirely sure how much that is. So there's that. Then there's 100 pounds, where obviously that's 4 sessions, 250, 500, and anything up from 50, I believe, is, I think you're invited on. You'll be make an appearance on the World Crypto Network, and then at 100 you will get to pick the topic. 250, he will dedicate a full node, and at 500 you get the shout out, guest appearance, node dedicated.
You get all the things.
Yeah. I don't know how, but don't you get all the things in all of them? Like, what's different between 250 and 500? You can get the same stuff for $100. You can get the same thing for $350. This is bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, I don't
think that's like not. I don't know. If
Yeah,
you donate $500, I feel like that you're not doing it to get something out.
No,
of it.
yeah. You donate in two separate things, like 200. Did it all in 100s. So you can pick 4 topics.
I think for all of them, I hope you're doing it for more than the perks. I mean, even the £5 one. I mean, I hope you're not looking for a shout out. I hope you're willing to give him £5 to help him out. But yeah, I mean, but hey, the perks are still perks. I mean, if you want to be on a World Crypto Network show, you can do it. If you can pick your own topic for £100, stuff like that. So.
That's what we do. We get our fans to each donate 100 so that they pick the topics, and somehow that turns into us taking over their show. I don't really know how. There's a middle step that I don't know how.
Yeah. Well, I guess we're technically on World Crypto Network, so if you donate enough, hey, maybe we'll let you on our show. I mean, we're a pretty high-class show, and we only take the best of the best, but... I mean, if we'd consider it if you donated, it might be worth having you. So give that a shot.
The thing is,
we wouldn't even consider it.
We have Tim on here, so I wouldn't say that the bar is set as high as Daniel would have you believe.
Yeah, whatever. But we will consider it if you donate to Chris's Indiegogo. We will automatically accept you if you donate to us. So.
Yeah, sure, whatever. Hey, go to Indiegogo.com. It's called Crowdfund for Chris. I'm sure you can find it if you just search for it. And
why don't you just put it? You just put it in the show link.
Yep, good point. Good point. It'll be there. That's you, me, and BTC.com, or YMB.TC is our short link. It'll be there. Actually, you know what I'll do? I'll do YMB.TC/Chris. So there you go. Or you can use the full URL. You, me, and BTC.com/Chris. I'll make it to redirect to the Indiegogo. And check it out. It's worth doing. Are you tired of Bitcoin Dice and ready for something different? Try LuckyBit, the original falling coin game, at luckybit. It's the most exciting Bitcoin game on the web. You can bet on 5 different payout lines and win up to 999 times your bet. You can even use their faucet to get some free Bitcoin. Dice is boring. Play different at LuckyBit. Check it out at luckybit. Okay, so the last thing we wanted to hit on today, and I'll be honest.
Besides your mother.
Wow, good one, Tim. All right. Yeah, last thing we wanted to hit on today was some news about Blockstream, which it's interesting. It's kind of fired up the Bitcoin community. I mean, it's kind of extended the Civil War argument about block size and XT and scaling and everything. I know that some people have worried about that kind of stuff because of this story, which is that Blockstream raised a decent amount of money, $55 million. Yeah, it's a decent amount of money, I guess. It's a little bit.
I guess.
Yeah. But yeah, so they did. They raised $55 million, and it's basically a company that hopes to, I guess, integrate blockchains. The cover image here on CoinDesk mentions side chains, which I'm sure is part of it. But one of my favorite phrases from this article is, this is a quote from the Blockstream CEO, Austin Hill. He says, "We were one of the first companies that painted a vision for interoperable blockchains, that there wasn't going to be one blockchain, but many of them, all building off the Bitcoin code base to deliver technology." So I guess before we get into more of this story and what some people might be arguing about, let's start right there. What do you guys think about interoperable blockchains? And I guess the question here is kind of going long term into the future. What do you expect for Bitcoin? It's like, do you think that there will be one big blockchain, maybe Bitcoin, that will run things? Or do you expect a lot of really small blockchains that are able to connect somehow? Do you have any thoughts on that for the future of crypto?
I mean, only because I haven't put thought into it, and I don't know enough about it. I like to just attach to some other person's idea, but I kind of need your help to remind me what exactly it was. And it was the last presentation we saw at...
Yes, I was thinking the same thing.
At the DC conference, where it was all these different kinds of coins just for whatever, very specialized ones for different companies and stuff like that, but they could easily also be transferred and exchanged, and you just use the best currency for whatever you were doing. And I think that's more likely what's going to happen than, well, that's what I would prefer, I guess. I could also see it going the other way in Bitcoin getting more and more commercial and more. And in that kind of taking over like the main, like the kind of mass crypto stuff. I mean, there doesn't have to be, but there's nothing stopping anyone else from just making other currencies. So I guess, yeah, it's pretty safe to assume there's always going to be a bunch of different ones. But as for what the percentages of using what is going to be, I would prefer if everything was all spread out, I guess, a more specialized payment for whatever specialized thing, than trying to force one thing to work for everything.
Right. I know exactly what you're saying, and I really want to agree because you're right. I think it's a great thing for people to have options and for there to be tons and tons of cryptocurrencies or blockchains, however you want to call it. And I love that speech that we heard at the conference about the smart wallet that would handle thousands of currencies and you wouldn't really even know it. I like all of those ideas, but here's where the trouble comes in for me. To me, if a blockchain is small, it's vulnerable, right? If all the mining power is divided up into thousands of blockchains, then each one of them is going to be pretty small, and there's going to be people out there who might be able to say, look, I'm a Bitcoin miner, and I have a decent amount of mining power and I mine Bitcoin, but hey, if you and I partner up and maybe 2 or 3 other people, we can attack, I don't know, we can attack Crackcoin and we'll be able to take it down, and then Bitcoin will get that much better. I mean, I don't know. That's something I imagine. I don't know if it's realistic, but do you guys?
No,
I don't know.
That's simple enough that you either might be wrong, or because I can understand it, and that always sets off my warning bells a little bit. That it's a little bit too simplified, but it makes sense.
Yeah. So to me, what the benefit would be, and I don't want to fully commit to this. This is kind of just first impressions thinking about this question. But what I think is that if a blockchain, I mean Bitcoin, let's say Bitcoin becomes the one world blockchain, right? Let's say it's the biggest and strongest, most powerful blockchain, whatever. That is not in itself centralization. That is not in itself a bad thing. Just because there's one big blockchain does not mean that it's centralized and it's subject to the whims of 1 or 2 people or 1 or 2 groups. I mean, that is possible. It could be. In fact, it is pretty much true right now that like 3 pools make up three mining pools make up more than 50% of the mining power. So those are certainly risky situations, but the idea of a huge blockchain, a kind of a central blockchain, that idea itself does not mean centralization and risk. Is that right? Do you guys think? Does that make sense? And would you then give any possibility or accept any possibility for there being kind of a central blockchain, especially if it works? I mean, if one of them works well enough, why would people waste any time trying to divide up mining power onto different currencies and trying to have wallets for different currencies and trying to update different currencies? Am I making any sense? Does that seem possible?
I missed like one thing that you said that I think was pretty important. Can you try to sum that up like in a sentence or something?
Yeah, so basically the question is it bad to have one blockchain? Because it's not just because it's one blockchain does not mean it's one centralized blockchain. I mean that's possible for there to be centralized blockchains, but one blockchain does not imply centralized blockchain. So I'm wondering if it's possible that maybe we will stick with one blockchain, or one main blockchain, just because who wants to mess with 1,000 blockchains?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you that one thing does not make it does not make it centralized. So yeah, I mean, I guess I don't really care that much.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of a lame answer, but
no, yeah, I mean it is a tough question, and I don't even know how much it matters. I mean, it's whether there's one or whether there's 1,000.
Well, yeah, I mean, I kind of thought about like both of you guys. I thought about the talk we heard also as soon as we started talking about this. But I mean, even at the time that we heard that, like way back then, I think one of the things that I kind of thought is, what's the difference between having a single currency and having all of these currencies exchanged in the background without you knowing what's going on? Does that make sense? Almost like the more currencies that are constantly just being exchanged all the time, the more it is just like having a single currency.
Yeah, that I could see. And in fact,
in terms of experience, and at that point, it just becomes overhead. Like if nobody actually notices the difference of what currency they're using, doing all that exchanging and stuff just becomes overhead.
Right. Yeah, I mean, yeah, overhead is always a problem and something to consider, but I do know what you're saying. Like, as long as they are connectable, as long as you can get from one currency to the other easily enough, then yeah, what difference does it make if there's 1,000 or if there's one? If you have a smart wallet that can handle it, then there it is. It's just currency. I mean, it's you do what you do, and wherever the money ends up, it doesn't really matter. And actually, that made me think that maybe that's kind of what Blockstream here is trying to do. I mean, they're talking about interoperable blockchains. So they're not saying that they should all be separate, and that we should have 1,000 different blockchains that never talk to each other and that are expensive to switch between. But maybe they're trying to work out ways that it's super easy to work with any blockchain, no matter what the blockchain looks like, no matter what it's called. Maybe they're trying to just say, hey, who cares what blockchain it is? We'll make it work. And that's I'm sure that's a super broad way of putting whatever they're doing. I'm sure there's a lot more to their mission statement than just, we'll make it work. But yeah, I don't know. It's possible. Yeah, so I mentioned earlier that this is kind of an extension of the block size and scaling Bitcoin debate. And I don't want to get too much into this because to be honest, I don't know a ton of the details about why people are for or against it. I don't know the full debate, but I do just want to mention that some people have been arguing about the fact that some of the core devs work for Blockstream, and they're worried that maybe, it's the centralization debate again, I mean, they're like, oh, they're just trying to gain control of the blockchain and have tons of power, and they're going to ruin Bitcoin. And like I said, I don't know all the details about the argument. I don't know all the facts. But yeah, that is worth mentioning, I'm sure, is that some people are worried about this. And, I mean, if you're working for a big company with $55 million in one funding round, I mean, okay, yeah, that's a decent amount of power, and maybe you can convince core devs to do X, Y, and Z, and maybe you can change the network to your advantage. I'm not going to say it's impossible, but, I will say I'm not super concerned. It's not like I'm selling all my Bitcoin or anything. So
it's not selling, Daniel. It's buying.
What? Selling? How is selling buying? Those are exact opposites. You're an idiot. Oh man. Anyway, so I mean, what I think might happen is that we'll be talking about this debate for the next month because we do that way too much. We get hooked on a topic that the community is talking about, and we just talk about it also way too much. So, I don't know. Maybe next week will be all about how Blockstream is ruining Bitcoin. I don't know.
We'll go see. Where the flow takes us, folks. We have our fingers at the pulse, and we go where the vein goes.
Yeah, sure. What he
right
said.
To the heart.
So, I guess... Oh, man. So I guess that brings us to advice of the week, guys.
Oh, my God. No.
Yeah, Tim, it's time to force shit. It's time to force shit.
You got so angry.
Just imagine Tim sitting on the toilet trying to poop.
You have to.
My advice, it's pretty easy for me this week. I'm going to say help Chris Ellis. I think he's a pretty cool guy, and I think you should get over there to me and btc.com/Chris and help him out some. That's my advice. I think you should. I'm going to do it myself. It's great stuff.
Can we all just make the same advice?
No, Tim, you have to force shit.
That's not fair. Daniel, I can't give any advice about this article that isn't going to make me sound like an asshole.
Who said it had to be about this article?
For not telling people, or not about this episode.
Who said it had to be about this episode?
It should be topical.
Who said it had to be topical?
No one said it had to be topical. Fine.
All right, there you go. So if your advice is wear a condom, then tell people to wear a condom.
John, you want to go?
Well,
I don't know what to say after that.
This is kind of like being constipated. This isn't really advice, but I like at the end part when we were talking about the Blockstream stuff, I was having a hard time focusing because at the beginning you read that thing about interoperational blockstreams, and you said something about like, what do you think about having interoperational blockstream or blockchains? I'm messing stuff up now. I don't even know what I said wrong, but it was probably something. Anyways, I just was like, for some reason had this moment where I was imagining like you were asking that to some like farmer in the Dust Bowl. And then I was like, how far we have come as a race of humans that we talk about things like this and then put it on the internet for people to listen to.
Your ancestors were better than you. They were tougher.
You used to be a Dust Bowl farmer.
And we have brought you out of that servitude. We have helped you. We have evolved with you through your ears. You were the mental equivalent of the guy in the Dust Bowl. And then you listened to our show, and now you are basically what you are now, which is probably someone who's on their computer too much. But
it only took 100 years to get here.
yeah, my advice this week, and my advice every week, unspoken but always heard by the true listeners, is listen to our show more.
All
and
right.
donate to Chris Ellis.
That's good shit. That's good shit. I like it, Tim.
That's good shit.
All right,
now
guys.
It's just Daniel.
Thanks for being here. All the music.
Also, can somebody tell me what the difference between Bernie Sanders and Larry David is?
I don't know who Larry David is.
Well, you know who Bernie Sanders is, right?
Yeah.
So you know who Larry David is.
Okay. All right, sure. Yeah, sure. Leave a comment and tell John what the difference is, and tell me who Larry David is. You can do that wherever you're listening, probably. I mean, iTunes, you can leave a review, I guess. I mean, we don't really get many of those, but I guess you could. Spreaker, you can leave comments. On our website, me, and btc.com, you can leave comments. I don't know, YouTube, wherever you are. Tell me who Larry David is, and tell us what the difference is between him and Bernie Sanders, I guess. Anyway, thanks a lot for being here. It's been a great show. All the music was from John Stuart, and we'll see you next Thursday. I think that about covers it, so catch you later. Peace.
Bye.